If you're somewhat knowledgeable in anime and manga, you might have come across products from the Fate franchise, from anime like Fate Stay Night, Fate Zero, or even games like Fate Extra and Fate Grand Order. The Fate series is notorious for being difficult to get into because of the sheer amount of series in that one franchise. However, it is not the only series with multiverses and prequels and sequels. So why did it turn out this way? To analyze this, I'll be comparing the Fate franchise to the other franchises, the superhero franchise and the Gundam franchise. Obviously, I'm not an expert in media studies or Japanese pop culture, and this is just from my personal observation. But without further ado, let's get into the first reason. Fate has a ton of media. It started off as a visual novel eroge, and then it has an anime adaptation, and then we have anime movies, and then games. The thing is, one series might have a continuation, but it's not always in the same media. For example, Fate Stay Night and Fate Apocrypha are both animes, but they are not in one timeline. Fate Stay Night's sequel is actually Fate Holo Ataraxia, which is a game. Gundam, however, has only two relatively known media, the DIY kits, which doesn't have any lore, and the animes. When I started the Gundam series, all I did was do a quick search on my anime list, sort it by rating, and watch the highest rated series. And then I search further whether it has a sequel or not. If not, then I'll watch. If yes, then I'll watch the prequel first. Now, you might argue that technically superhero franchises have the same amount, if not more media than Fate, with live action, comic, and TV series. But people don't complain about them so much. So why the double standard towards Fate? Well, this brings us to the second reason, which is content. You see, in superhero franchises, the formula is always the same. First, we have the origin story, then a villain or two shows up, then the hero and the villains fight each other, and then we reach a conclusion, and finally there might be an optional reboot. In Gundam, although the theme and the weight of the story for each series are different, the storylines are pretty much the same, giant robots fighting in space. In Fate, the premise of the Fate series always starts with the Holy Grail War. However, the Holy Grail War mechanics is not always the same. For example, in Fate Stay Night, the Holy Grail War has 7 masters and 7 servants going on a battle royale, and there can only be one winner. In Fate Apocrypha, there are 2 factions, and each faction has 7 masters and 7 servants, and then we have a ruler class, and the masters and the servants must fight as a team in order to gain control over the Holy Grail. However, if you play Fate Extra, the Holy Grail War is now a Moon Holy Grail War, and there are 128 masters competing in a tournament. Even as a longtime fan of Fate, I still struggle with all the terminologies whenever I start a new series. Besides the premise, the sheer amount of characters can be daunting to some. One character can appear in one media but not in the other. They might have connections to characters from the other series. Some characters might even look alike and be completely different people, but characters that look completely different can actually be the same person. While it is interesting, having to keep tabs on which characters is which takes a mental toll, and you have to do it if you don't want to get lost in this rabbit hole. But no matter the difference in mechanics and storylines, surely we can always start from one source, right? Well, you're horribly mistaken, and that's because of the fans. I get it. We want newcomers to get a good first impression of the series. But if we always argue about where to start or what's canon and what's not, then that's going to be counterproductive. I think Fate fans in general need to realize that there's no perfect adaptation and there's no perfect formula to enjoy the Fate series. And also, we need to chill. We're not trying to recruit people into a religion here. And lastly, and probably the biggest reason for all this mess, is time. The first product of the Fate franchise was released in 2004. That seemed like a long time ago, but compared to Gundam that has been around since 1979, the Fate franchise is still a teenager. Spider-Man first started in 1962 and Superman started in 1938, which is just before the Second World War. So despite existing for barely 2 decades, the Fate franchise has grown at a rate much faster than what the fans can catch up with. So I think those are the reasons why Fate is a mess. Now, if you like this breakdown, do leave a like and subscribe to this channel. Thank you and see you next time.